Hello, friends, and welcome. It's going to be kind of a general once all over today, but just a little food for thought. You know, we have these days where we really kind of workshop or break down a particular part of the body, or maybe a particular pose or series of poses. And, you know, hopefully each time that we break those bits and pieces down, you find a little bit of really good information or knowledge for your body and your practice. So it's not that you have to remember everything I said or do anything perfectly or anything like that, right? But if when we did the next series, you realized moving your, upper palate up and back was a useful tool, right? You can start to bring those things into any class that you do, whether it's me or someone else teaching. And even if we're not doing a class on the neck and we're doing a class on the solar plexus, you can start to be like, oh yeah, that's right, my neck. And you'll start to find you can bring those things together to find the practice that is useful, the most useful for your body. Yeah? Find your long spine. Everyone can be in whatever upright position or even lying down or standing position if that works best for you right now. That is the super highway of the body and the main information channel. And you want energy to be able to flow through that spinal column and out to where it needs to go. So maybe even imagine that you can bring that prana, that life force, with the breath into the body, right, and to the spinal column. Don't let anything feel too effortful. There's an ease to it. And notice anything else that you do, that you notice, right, about your body. And when I say body, I mean your holistic body, all of it together, united. And then go ahead and open the eyes, and let's start moving from the ground. You can use a little bit of that core on the way down. Right, you've got arms out and ahead of you, you've got walking on the thighs, you've got elbows down to lower you all the way down to the earth. And then once you get there, let's start by just bringing the knees into the chest, hands on knees, and go ahead and circle those knees. Start to wake up that sacrum and low back. And other direction. And then from there, you're going to keep your knees we'll have them to the center of the chest. Then you're going to separate them out forward together again and back down towards the chest. So just go ahead and start to take those knees in separate circles. And other direction, please. They can be little circles, big circles. You can do spirals. What starts to wake up your hip joints? Now bring the right knee in, keep the right knee in, put the left foot on the ground. And you're going to go ahead and just hug. We've been playing with this, right? If I have my hands closer to my knee or even behind my knee, if my knee is sensitive, and I pull down, I can feel how the upper rim of my pelvis comes down, my low back rounds down a little bit, right? And I move into what would be considered cat if we were on hands and knees, right? Or what's called flexion in anatomy. And then I'd like you to move your hand down a little lower on the thigh or the shin and pull down one more time and see if instead of totally rounding the low back, right, we widen the low back and we can keep the middle of the sacrum a little more grounded. Let's take that right foot, your big toe, and circle the right big toe as wide as you can. And go the other direction.
Interlace behind the thigh, hands closer to the hip than the knee. Push the heel up. Adding in the traction action we work so much, which is where you push your thigh forward into your hands, right, in order to lengthen out of your lower right back. And you can be doing this any time of day, most definitely. But when I do this kind of stuff in the morning, it feels so nice after lying in bed. But I guess, gosh, if you're sitting down all day too, take that right big toe and one more time circle and notice how different the felt sense of that circling is here compared to when we just did it moments ago with the knee bend. Go ahead and go the other direction. And come back to the center, push that thigh forward into the hands, take another breath. And then you're going to go ahead and keep your hands where they are, but the whole leg, right, hands and leg are going to move a little to the left, keeping that right hip very heavy. Pull that pinky toe edge back to the outer hip. That's the part that a lot of people start to lose, we'll say, when they come in. And come back to center, put that foot down on the ground, pause for just a moment. Notice the right leg, notice the left leg. And then when you bring that left leg in, again, you're going to either interlace around the knee or right behind the knee, but as close to the knee as you can. And as you hug down, notice the low back, the sacrum. We are in that rounded position, and we are in the top rim of the sacrum. The tailbone gets light, the low back rounds and flattens. And then go either a little lower on the thigh. For this one, personally, I like to come back up to my shin, right? Pull straight down, trying to keep the middle of the sacrum down and a little bit of the natural lumbar curve, but then widening that, pulling from this place. If anything I say doesn't make sense, it's okay, no worries. Take the big toe, the left big toe, and draw your circle. And really bring your awareness into the left ankle and the foot. Right? I mean, I can even feel it going under my hands all the way up towards my knee. And then interlace behind the thigh, closer to the hip than the knee. Push the heel up. And again, I want you to push that thigh forward into the hands. Now, if you have shorter arms or your proportions are such that it's hard to get around, you could use a strap here around the leg, right? And that way you have a bridge to get to it. Your leg doesn't have to be straight by any means. For me, my ribs puff up when I do this, and my low ribs come off the ground, so I ground them back down. Go ahead and take the whole unit over to the right, keeping the left hip nice and heavy. I'm still pushing my thigh forward into my hands as I do this today. Right? Come back to center. There is no right or wrong. Take that left big toe and draw your circles. There's just today's exploration of the body. Other direction. Does it feel different than when you just circled your big toe moments ago? How does it change the experience, right? Come back to center, push that thigh forward one more time, and then bring that foot down on the ground. Let's start to move into our spine with our rolling bridges. So pushing into the heels, rolling up one vertebrae at a time, and exhale, rolling down one vertebrae at a time. Do one more like that. Inhale, try to roll up the tailbone and then the sacrum and then the L5, etc., up to your edge, whatever that is. Exhale, rolling down. With dynamic movement, often, each time we come in, we get just a little, quote, deeper or further in. Go ahead and this time maybe the arms lift up as you roll up one vertebrae at a time and then roll down. Bring those arms down by the side. And we'll do that one again. Inhale, rolling up, reaching all the way up overhead. Leave your arms overhead. Roll your spine down. Try to do one vertebrae at a time and notice how difficult that is in a particular area of the spine for you. We're all different with where that is. Go ahead and extend the legs all the way out. Reach the fingers behind you while hugging the shoulders in the sockets. Reach the heels down to the foot side, hugging gently the hips into the socket, right? So the idea is to get longer through the waistline, the ribs, and not pull joints out of sockets. Now we're going to move our right heel to the right corner of the mat. The left ankle is going to cross over the right ankle if it can. Grab your left wrist, wiggle the shoulders to the right, and try to lengthen out of that left side waist. And breathe. One more breath there. Wherever you feel that it is the most restricted, tightest, whatever that is for you, whatever word you want to put on that. Breathe into that, yeah. Come back through center, unwind. Left ankle over to the left edge, right ankle over left ankle. Grabbing onto right wrist with left hand, wiggle shoulders left. And hopefully you're feeling a lovely stretch somewhere in that right side body, maybe everywhere in that right side body, depending on your body today. Just explore. Where do you feel it? Can you breathe into the area that feels like it needs it the most? Come back to center. Bring the arms down by the side. Put the feet on the ground. This time we're going to do a working bridge. So roll up one vertebrae at a time. The arms stay by the side. You can make robot arms. You can grab the edges of the mat, or you can interlace behind. Maybe roll those shoulders underneath you just a little bit. Remember, it's the very beginning of the practice, so you don't have to go to, well, A, you never have to go to extremes, but B, especially not when you're just starting to get into that beautiful body of yours, right? And lifting the chest, it's true, but where's that lower body support, right? Make sure you're putting weight into the inner edge of the feet and the knees aren't going wide. Pull the heels back towards the shoulders. Remember, they don't move, they're on a sticky mat. That's just to get the hamstrings to activate. Roll down one vertebrae at a time. Walk the feet wide, lean the knees in, tee the arms out, pause, soften. Hug yourself with your right arm closer to your face than your left. Literally try to walk the shoulder blades apart from each other. It's called protraction, right? Breathe in between your shoulder blades. And uncross, recross, left arm high on right. So just that this first round. Don't worry, we'll get into other things, right? I know people get eager and they're like, but I need eagle arms or I'm not doing anything. I don't feel anything. Go ahead and tee those arms all the way out. Walk your knees wide and walk your feet into touch. You're going to cross your right thigh over your left. Some of you can do the cross around the calf, but again, make sure your pelvis stays neutral. Otherwise, it can just stay right next to the calf, right? And then you're going to bring your right arm underneath your left, right? So your right arm and your right leg are closest to each other. You can stay like this with the arms, or you can come into eagle arms where your forearms cross. They're both on the table at this point in time, right? Let your elbows lift up until they're about the height of the shoulders, right? So just a little away from the chest. Go ahead and move your thighs into an imaginary block. Rotate your thighs, internally rotate your thighs, right? Your inner thighs towards the front of the room, and then try to lift the legs up into tabletop, hips above knees above hips. Try that again. Inhale. On an exhale, pull your elbows and knees together. Maybe tuck your chin into your chest. And on an exhale, come back out to where we started, that neutral. Knees above the hips, elbows above the shoulders. And exhale, pull the belly in. Rounding in. Coming all the way back out. I think I screwed up what I wanted to do on the breath. I want to exhale all the way in, but if you're doing an inhale, that's okay. I'll correct it on the other side for you since I'm the one who goofed it up. Bring the feet down, uncross the arms. Let the arms come all the way down. Let the feet wide and knees lean in. Take just a moment before you go to other side. We'll get there, don't worry. Walk the feet in all the way together. Cross your left thigh all the way over your right. Maybe that foot goes around the calf. Maybe it's just next to it. Bring your left arm underneath your right, further away from your face, and either just simply hug here or interlace forearms, right? So let those elbows come up until they're in line. They're stacked over the shoulders. That's their neutral. Right? Now, before you lift the legs up, we get really eager, but you can find more stability, right? So go ahead and internally rotate your thighs forward towards the front of the room, move the thighs in towards each other, and then lift up, knees above the hips, right? So the inhale is going to be neutral. This is when we'll be in this position. On the exhale, pull the belly in, bring the limbs in, tuck the chin in. Inhale, coming back to where we started. And exhale, rounding in. Don't be in a hurry. Inhale, take the whole inhale to unwind. Don't overarch the low back on that one. Exhale, pull the belly in. You do get to move into the cat. The low back comes down to the ground. Inhale, and here we are. We come to neutral. Go ahead and unwind the feet. Tee the arms out. Walk your feet as wide as your mat. Knees sway to the right. Windshield wiper, head to the left. Inhale, back up. Exhale, knees to the left, head to the right. Inhale, back up. One more of those, knees to the right, head to the left. Inhale up, and knees to the left, head to the right. Inhale, back to center. You can come up either through fetal position, teeter-totter, or grab the legs and rock yourself up. Let's come on to hands and knees for just a couple of cat-cows. Feel free to support your knees. Were I not on a carpet, on a mat, I would be definitely with a blanket under my knees. And inhale, shoulder blades down the back, chest forward. Exhale, pull belly up, round up. Inhale. And exhale. One more of those. Inhale. And exhale. Now moving into the lateral motion of the spine. Right ear towards right shoulder. Look over the right shoulder. Or not right ear towards right shoulder. Sorry, right hip towards right shoulder. Look over the right shoulder. Back to center. Left shoulder towards left hip. Look over the left shoulder. Right, here we go into that one. Inhale. Exhale, crunch in to the right. Inhale, center. Exhale, crunch to the left. Inhale, center, crunch. Doesn't mean you're aggressive suddenly, right? Now stay there. Slide your left toes back and over to the right. Look back, and that might amplify the side stretch. Back to center, knee down. Go ahead and crunch your left hip and shoulder. Look over. Slide your right toes back and over to the left. Look over towards the toes and breathe into the right side. Come back to center. Walk your hands about 2 inches forward. Curl the toes under. And if it's all right with your body, come into downward facing dog. Now bend the knees quite a bit. Right, remember last week's neck work. So crown of the head reaches about between the thumbs-ish, right? Biceps beside ears-ish. And then from there, lengthen, 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 and then reach the right heel down. We're not going to pedal. We're going to go slow and hold, right? So my right leg is as straight as it can get right at this moment in time without pulling my spine out of alignment. My left knee is bent, and I'm breathing into the back of that right leg. Bend the right knee and reach that left heel down any amount. Right, where do your asymmetries come in? They're not wrong, and there's not only one way to be, but we're trying to keep our spine as neutral as we can today as we move through the feet. Now push that right heel down as well, both heels reaching down any amount, buttocks bones up and back, hands forward and down, knees down wide, big toes together, child's pose. Breathe. Breathe in that back body. Open up those back ribs as much as you can. Any part of the spine or the musculature around the spine more appropriately. One more. Come back up in a downward dog. Take your time, right? Find little bits and pieces of alignment on the way so that you don't have to find it all once you get up there. We're going to inhale the right leg up into the air behind you and float it forward between the hands. Left knee's going to come down. I want you to walk your right hand foot out to the right. Bring your right hand inside. You can use blocks here if you want to. Otherwise, you're just going to go ahead and kind of circle the hips. You'll notice my left hand is just off the edge. I find a little more stability in my upper body while holding my upper body to circle my hips. So, just meaning like if you have that inclination to move the hands a little bit to find support, go ahead and go the other way. Put them wherever they need to in order for you to do these hip circles. That's all. And come into the center. Both hands are still inside the right leg. Reach the chest forward and exhale. Come down inside the thigh. We're not going to stay here for too long today. Push back up. Walk the right foot over again until it's heel in line with knee, in line with buttocks bone. One hand either side. Get long. Reach the arms up. Let's say hi to that psoas while we're here, right? So frontal hip points up, or you can think of that pelvic wheel. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reach my right arm. My palms are facing each other, right? So I don't change the position of the palm. I'm going to reach my right arm down by my side, and I'm going to lean to the right, reaching through that left side body.
lengthening through the left side body. Now this one's kind of different. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to swing my left hand back so it's almost like I'm moving into a shoulder roll. I'm going to bring my right arm out and tee. So now my arms are in teed out position, my palms are forward, right? And I'm stretching through the front of that side body, maybe my shoulder. And then go ahead and come all the way back up to center, right? Arms reach up by the side. Bring the hands down. Downward dog, or simply switch the legs out and we'll meet there in a second. Left leg reaches up and bring it forward between the hands, right knee down. Walk the left foot out wide. Put the hands wherever they need to support you as you move the hips forward. And start to circle the hips. And go ahead and go the other way. And walk the hands over just a little bit. Lengthen through the spine. Exhale, coming down inside that hip. And again, we're not going to be here for too long, so don't worry too much about that, but support yourself as necessary. Push the floor away. Walk the left foot over to neutral. One hand on either side, chest forward, and reach those arms up. Palms face each other, soft shoulders. Now we're going to bring that left arm down by the side and we're going to reach and lengthen through that right arm. Left hand can totally come on the thigh if that's better balance-wise for you, right? Now for this next one, we're going to tee the arms out and I roll that right arm back. My palms face forward the same way my face is facing, right? I open up through that right shoulder and really lengthen. Hopefully maybe with that slight turn of my ribs, I feel the front of my right ribs, my belly maybe, my shoulder, and then come all the way up to center. Bring those hands down and go ahead and one more downward dog if that feels appropriate for you today. So it's not going to be a super high energy class if you couldn't tell. It's just trying to get into all the bits and pieces and open them and say hello. And go ahead and bring those knees down. Keep your toes curled under. Sit back towards the heels, and that might be plenty for you, right? I'd rather have the hips stay low than you worry about bringing the upper body up. But maybe the upper body can come up with your hips staying low on the feet. Maybe you walk one knee back and a little and stretch a little further, not just because that means you're amazing, but because that's where your work is, right? We all have work in different areas. Go ahead and come on forward. You're going to uncurl your toes. Now you're on your toenails and it's the same thing, right? I sit back. I try to keep my hips as low as I can in my body. I might be able to bring my upper body up parallel to the wall in front of me. I might not. And I'm breathing. And come on forward. Okay, and then I want to do one more thing for the wrists, and then we'll sit and we'll in silence, right? So I want you to go ahead and I want you to turn your fingertips all the way back towards you, and I like to bring my hands a little closer to my knees for this, right? And so the very front of my tender part of my wrist, right, my vulnerable part is facing forward, the inner wrist. Now from there, you're going to go ahead and slide your shoulder blades down your back, lengthen through your cervical spine, that's the neck, and start to sink those heels back down. You can have your toes curled under or undone, whichever one works for you is totally fine, yeah? But you're going to start to sink the hips back, keeping the heel of the hands down, 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 down. And don't go to a place where you're in pain and your body's like flinching, right? Find a place where you feel a stretch and you can maintain. I tend to lock out my elbows, so I have to remember to just gently micro bend my elbows while I do this stretch. And come on forward, and then you're going to turn the fingers forward. Now you're going to dive, right, so that I come onto the back of my hand, and my fingers dive towards my knees. So they're still facing the knees, but now I'm on the top of my hand, the back of my hand. And I'm going to call the heel of the hand, that very back part of the wrist, as I start to sink back and down. Try not to bend the elbows too much. If you need to bend them a little bit or micro bend, that's one thing, but we tend to really bend the elbows to get into this. Try to keep that thumb part of the body down as well, right, as you move back. And now you're in the front of the wrist. If this feels like too much or you have a carpal tunnel like Stradra and it's not right, don't do it. Or do a very gentle version of it. You know, you could do this from seated and you could just play with it like this where there's not as much weight bearing, yeah? And then go ahead and you're going to sit back. If it's okay for you to take a block,
between your ankles and sit back into hero's pose, right? When my ankles are sensitive with students, I roll up a blanket, right? Or just have that little roll right at the ankle, right? So that my ankles aren't quite as stressed. If you need to go into another position, you do. It's really not a big deal. No big whoop, right? Hands on the thighs, palms up potentially, but maybe it feels better to have palms down. What feels better, and can you name even why, right? Can you start to articulate that stuff? And just noticing the body. And one of the first things I brought your awareness to was the superhighway, the spine. Trying to find a long spine so that energy can flow through the body. And hopefully we've opened most of the joints. I don't know about opened, might not be the right word, but we've moved them around and got them a little more fluid. Hopefully moved stagnant energy out of them. What else do you notice? That impulse to get out of here and go to the next thing. Can you sit with it? Can you stay still for just a few more moments? That impulse to never get off your mat to go do the next thing, like, right? What's coming up? Try not to judge it. Bring those palms together in front of the chest. Inhale. Exhale, bow the head in. A moment of gratitude for these beautiful, beautiful bodies, for taking the time and the space. And may us showing up and doing this for ourselves benefit all of those around us. Namaste.